Tuesday, December 9th, the top trending stock on StockTwits is GameStop. So we're going to be talking about that. It looks like it's trending because it missed its Q3 sales estimates and after hours dropped 5.5% after dropping 1% during market hours. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to look at the linear chart, the log chart. I'm just going to do some charting in my style. Okay. I don't know that I'm going to find anything, but my goal is to find high time frame pivots. And that means like best entry, best exit type opportunities. Now, GameStop's chart is one of the most challenging to chart because of the crazy squeeze where it went from like $1.50 up to $120 according to TradingView. But I do remember that day. Didn't it go up to like 500, something like that? So what I like to do typically is just connect bottoms, extend it to tops, see if there's any signal there. When I say signal, I'm looking for things like this. You know, does it capture at the 50% line anything? You know, that would hint that maybe we're onto something in terms of this being the fractal that the market making algorithms have assigned to this stock. And I mean, I would say so, right? That looks good. Typically for clues too, I might even divide it into shorter lanes and again, look for more hints. This is the monthly time frame. So this is high time frame. I would say there is signal here, or, you know, there could potentially be. So up top, you're not seeing too much of that. I think it honestly deviated from, like, when this happened, I think it kind of deviated from the market maker algorithm's control, and that's why Robinhood had to turn off the buy button. But you've got, you know, a little bit of signal here, and this is, again, monthly bars. So you've got that wick right there. Then you get into the quarters. You know, you've got that candle body right there. So there's a little bit of reason to believe it might be onto something here, but this isn't a tremendous amount of signal. And in terms of where it is, I always like to kind of measure, like, in terms of previous price action, you've got all of this space, basically the range for GameStop, believe it or not. This supports it being $21.82 at the bottom. Sorry, no, $14 at the bottom and as high as $133 at the top. So, but again, too, it's like, what's the catalyst that's going to send it up there back to the top of that range? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine if that ever happens. We are under a 200-day moving average as well, which I always keep that blue line on my charts as the 200-day moving average. Trading underneath there is never ideal for any for any stock, and we're closer to, you know, hitting this bottom again than anything else. If I was to chart this just one other way really quickly, I would look to potentially connect this as a potential bottom to that, and then kind of go through the same exercise this way. So let's take a quick peek at that and see if we get anything from this view. So break it into quarters here. And not a tremendous amount of signal, but I will say we're closer to a bottom in this case. So when you look at it through this lens, the bottom potential would be at $20.68. And the upside target would be up here, you know, in another breakout move up at like 54.40. And when that move might come, well, actually, we're going to go to the next chart. In order to kind of predict that, I'm going to just connect the down lines. So you saw how we were going in upwards expansion channels here. Now let's do a downward decline channel. So I'm going to connect that. What year was that? 2021? Yeah, 2021 top to the 2024 top. And we'll extend it down here where it looks like we got the same decline angle on these two bottoms right here. Actually, three, I would say. So you had May 2021, January 2022, and again, March 2022. I'm going to put this on the monthly time frame as well, just to... do you see how switching it to the monthly time frame, by the way, did alter the chart just a little bit? So that's something that is worth noting when you're here in TradingView. So what do we see here? If anything, you know, it does put a little bit of a timer on a big potential breakout move, and that would be when it crosses above this downtrend line. So my goal here at Market Symmetry, again, is to set automated alerts on when it's advantageous to go long something like GameStop on these breakouts, on these high time frame breakouts, because these are monthly bars, guys. I mean, if you just kind of follow this trend, I mean, again, I don't have a crystal ball on when to expect that to break out, but if I just kind of draw a line that I think is kind of reasonable, something like that, you know, that puts us breaking out in June of 2026. Now, that's just a guess, right? There's no need to guess. I can right click and add an alert and then just say GME breakout of macro downtrend. Okay. And then when that triggers, I'm going to know to go check the GameStop chart and favor going long, if that makes sense. And if you guys are interested in trade alerts, check out the link in the top of the description. That is just one example of an alert. Next, I'm going to go here to the logarithmic chart for GameStop. Okay, so let me put this on the log scale. Perfect. And what I want to do here on the log scale is basically the same exercise. Look at the expansion channels and the decline channels and look for signal. Look for, any clues there might be to where GameStop could be headed next. And by the way, check this out. If anybody thinks that top that was captured here in TradingView was random, let me go to the monthly time frame too, since this is going back, a long time. So let me just redraw this. It's making it look like at least the data points that were captured here in TradingView, like they were not that random. Like that top, and again, I believe we went above 120K. That was a crazy day where it really felt like the market makers lost control. But in TradingView, it says it topped at 121. And if you just kind of saw the channel that I just drew, it's in line with the TA on the logarithmic scale. So I'm going to duplicate this channel, pull it down. Again, just looking for clues to help us predict potentially what comes next. So this isn't the most clean chart that I've ever seen. We could theoretically consider maybe redrawing it. And again, we'll do the down channels as well, but that's just one view. And the fact that we are below this line right here and below a 200-day moving average would make me favor Bitcoin, or sorry, Bitcoin, GameStop potentially like rolling over and heading lower in the short term, and this is monthly. So when I say short term, I mean, that could be short to mid theoretically. You could also say that we're in just a big wedge structure here, basically like that and like that. And I took a peek at the RSI before I hit record. There's definitely some clues that there is an explosive move coming, but that could be to the upside or to the downside. It doesn't really have I think you can usually get a clue though from looking at all of these different views. So let me take another stab at drawing these expansion angles. Sometimes one of the easiest ways to do this is just to keep it simple, connect the tops. So that'd be 2007 to 2021. Pull it down to the bottom so that now we've encapsulated all of, GameStop's entire life story here in this channel. There's no denying that, right? You saw how we did that. We connected the bottom to the top. Let's go ahead and draw these channels, split it up, and look for clues. So when you draw it this way, I mean, it looks like we just tagged that 50 line and bounced off of it. And this puts a little bit more of a bullish tint on GameStop. It's up 20% off of that 50 line. And again, this is why I'm creating market symmetry, guys, because I should have had an alert that went off right there saying, hey, GameStop just tagged a very relevant price level and it served as support. It doesn't mean it will serve as support forever. It just meant that the probability of a bounce from that level was very high. You saw how we arrived at that conclusion, hopefully. The next target, I mean, we could break this down further into, we could draw a lane here, here. But macro, if this is going up, the next target would be, and it all depends on when you get there, but let's say that GameStop runs, and I've seen some like signs that we could be on the cusp of a nice like bullish move, kind of rising tide type thing for the markets. Just my personal opinion, not financial advice. Starting in, I believe, early January 2026. Well, if this runs to June, you're looking at a $78 GameStop, which is more than or basically a 3x move from where it's at today. To the downside, you'd be looking down here at $6 and change. Again, this is on the logarithmic scale, guys. So what I would do again is just set alerts. Set alerts. GameStop. Honestly, GameStop, log, and then chart number 3. So I'm just making notes to myself here. GameStop, log, chart number 3. All right, next, chart number 4, same thing. We're on the logarithmic scale, but now we're going to look for basically cross sections. That last chart, we were looking at the expansion angles again. Let me pull down the logo here. Makes for a better YouTube video to have the logo. And let me do downtrends. So now we're connecting these tops, and let's pull that down and see what we get. Honestly, we could do the same exercise where we just connect the tops to the bottom, right? And that would take us to there. There's not a guarantee that this is going to have any signal, but let's see what we get if we split this now into quarters. All right, so it's kind of in no man's land, right? I think we could agree to that. It does put like a little bit of a cap on GameStop up here at the $42 mark. I mean, it all depends on when you get there, but again, I'm just looking at this downtrend. So let's say that it was to break to the upside. Well, I would expect it to kind of bounce and consolidate at that level before moving higher if our bias was that it was going to follow kind of what this chart's telling us and move to the upside. And by the way, it's kind of interesting because if you combine these two guys, and let me know if I'm going into too much detail. Like I can always do the shorter versions of these videos, but like let's say that it does move upwards and I'm just kind of guessing when it would get there. So let's say it's like June, July. Or I mean, I guess timing wise, we said what? It might be at 80 in June. So at some point though, like it runs into this and it consolidates up at like 40, let's say $45. Well, if we were to split this channel into like even the smaller time frame here, on its way up towards, you know, this center line, at what point does 45 come into play? Well, it comes into play in January of 2027. So what I was going to say is if it came into play, you know, over here, it might actually give you a clue on the timing. You know, it gets here, consolidates, and then moves up. Obviously on the monthly bars, it doesn't really capture those consolidations nearly as well as the weekly time frame would have, but just wanted to kind of point that out. Sometimes there's clues in terms of like predicting the timing of these moves. So that's one way of looking at the downtrends here for GameStop. Let's see if we can find any clues if we take one more stab at it. So how might we do this? Sometimes I'll just do something like this where I just go like top to bottom in that leg and then extend it out. So check that out. You guys saw what I just did there. We just took the 2021 top and what was the bottom here, like it sold off from January 2021 all the way to April 2024, right? That whole downtrend, one massive leg down on this macro high time frame, right? So you had the leg up, the downtrend, and then are we in the midst of another leg up, right? I think you could argue that, right? And this is, again, monthly bars. I know most people think on like short time frame, they want to be day traders, et cetera, but I find it much easier and realistic to win on the high time frame. So we could duplicate this channel here. And the first target, according to this, would be right in line with what we talked about last time, in the mid 40s. After that, it all depends on when you get there, but this is setting a target up in the 90s. And just based on history, by the way, for when Bitcoin runs, like it wouldn't surprise me if we went even further from there. Sometimes to backtest the validity of these channels, I like to just kind of move them back and see how it aligns with price action in the past. So let's do a little bit of that too, if you want to appease me. A lot of times you'd be surprised, right? Like, I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but I feel like I'm kind of noticing some respect of these levels. Like for instance, that right there, kind of pivoting right there, you know, right before the major move to the upside. And look at how it captures that. I mean, granted, we started our first channel from that top, but then we just moved all these channels backwards. And what do you know? It also captures the bottom where that move began. So just interesting to note there. And if you're into Elliott Wave on the high time frame, which Elliott Wave's not really my thing, if I'm being honest, but you could probably argue like 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, and then 5 is up. Who knows how high 5 goes? Or maybe it's just 1, 2, and then we're in the midst of 3. And to bring it home, I'm looking at the monthly RSI, and I'm just looking for extreme readings or really any clues as to what to expect here. Again, monthly RSI, very high time frame. So if we extend this out, this is going back, by the way, to like the 2007 peak to the October 13 peak. You can kind of see here, actually, hopefully you can see that it has provided overhead resistance recently, you know, as recently as the top that we experienced in September 2025. So what I would do, honestly, is set an alert here. Just say GME RSI monthly. I'm going to set a few, okay, because this is going to tell us if we're underneath it and we run into it, potential for resistance, but also potential for a breakout as well if we were to break above it. I'm also going to connect this bottom right here like this. And you can kind of see that GameStop is in that wedge. You guys see what I see? Like this is on the monthly time frame. Something big is coming for GameStop. It's either going to be to the upside or to the downside. But one thing I'm noticing is that like I said earlier, kind of the broad market, you know, a lot of individual stocks, even, you know, indices look like they're ready to explode. And that could be to either side, but I believe that the tariff sell-off kind of reset everything in April, which you can see like right here. And it kind of brought a lot of these charts down to their resistance, which you can see happened right here. So anyways, I'm going to set an alert right here. Again, same thing, GameStop RSI monthly. Then I'm going to set one more right here, going through those. And again, this funnels right into my theory that January 2026 is looking to be explosive. And this is just through the lens of GameStop, guys. But I've been looking at other things, crypto, Bitcoin, some Bitcoin adjacent stocks. And yeah, like if you want more of that and you just want me to give you alerts on these high time frames, not daily alerts where we're day trading, but like literally like high time frame, best entries, best exits. You've seen my methodology now used here on GameStop, but I'm going to be doing as many stocks as I possibly can across the entire market, including cryptocurrencies. So if you're into that, guys, please subscribe and check out the link in the description. What would it be worth to you to get access to my trade alerts that are based on high time frame, high probability setups in the charts and momentum oscillators? You'll also get access to me to request new charts or updated existing charts. And we're going to establish high time frame price targets that could be either to the upside or the downside. I then set up automated alerts in TradingView, and Market Symmetry Pro members are alerted immediately when they trigger. So if that sounds like something that would benefit you and your trading or investing, I look forward to seeing you inside.